So what are we going with?
Rzning?
I like
This
that.
is a podcast.
I'm just gonna go anytime.
With Sims.
We're just two guys.
You want to hear
a lot of shit going on.
listen to it, see what comes out.
I don't know how to explain it, but you know when people say, like, right, so you know when like you get this dynamic where a woman's talking about her worth and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, it's all well and good having you telling people your worth.
Yeah.
But if no one's willing to pay, quote unquote,
Yeah.
then is that really your worth?
No, it is not. You know?
But then I started. But then
I could try to shot a car and
but then
say,
I
yo,
thought
this
about,
car.
But then I thought about like self-worth. Self-worth is different from value.
Yes. Okay.
So your value is what other people say you're worth.
Okay,
Whereas
yeah.
your self-worth is what you say you're worth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think the hard part is finding that balance. Because the truth of the matter is, you can feel and know what you want about yourself. You can feel the way you want. If what you know to be true about yourself,
Yeah.
that's you. But to try and translate that to somebody else, or trying to sell that to somebody else, or trying
Yeah.
to be accepted by somebody else as that,
Yeah.
might be the hard part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you might have to move in certain ways, or just surround yourself with certain people, or cut other people off, or cut certain things out of your life in
Yeah.
order to almost build this brand around what you feel your worth is. So if your worth is, let's say for instance in the dynamic of like relationships, if as a man,
Yeah.
your worth is, you think to yourself, I deserve to be seen as a high value man. So are you really going to be kicking around just jamming on the blocks with the man then? No, not really. That's not what high value men do. So you got to align yourself with certain brands and certain activities that display your
They tell that story.
yeah, exactly, to tell that story.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go kick about saying, "Oh, I'm a high value man," but these times you're moving low value,
Doing low value activities.
yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Chilling on
Yeah.
the blocks with the man, them doing all the rest of it. It's like, and it's all right if you want to do that, but don't expect anyone else to value you the same as
Yeah.
you value yourself.
Yeah.
And my thing is, people should be allowed to make their own assumption of you.
Yeah.
They should be allowed to. Treating you disrespectfully as a result of that assumption is a different story.
Yeah.
But if a girl says to you, "Nah, you're not my type,"
Yeah.
there's a reason for that.
I love this point, and it links into one point that I had about the question, where when it comes to the link between the business example and kind of the human condition and how emotions are brought into it, or the position to call oneself a high value man or high value woman, versus the example of a business where, strictly speaking, the performance of a business is based on metrics and numbers. You can't disprove those facts because there's no emotion, there's no leeway of any sort of soft feelings.
There's not up for debate.
Is
Check
this
the
business?
statistics.
Yeah, is this business performing well? Look at the number. Is that number high? Yes, it is. You're an employee here. Are you contributing to keeping this number high?
How
Yes, you
many
are.
units have you sold for this company?
Exactly.
That's your value.
You cannot lie about that because it is there for all to see. Therefore, when we're talking about value in that context, I fully get it. Yes, there's metrics there. There's ways to quantify and measure that. So straight away, it's like, okay, this is how you are contributing to this mission that we have. We are achieving this goal and you have contributed X percentage of this, therefore disproportionate to all others. Therefore, amongst this group, you are head and shoulders above the rest, high value. When it comes to relationships now, this is where it gets sticky. Because
ambiguous terminology.
trust me, like when people try to, there's this whole thing about like perceived value and how someone sees themselves in a setting. Like I can easily sit here and say that like, oh yeah, that whole what do you bring to the table thing.
Is that a disrespectful question to ask?
It's not. It isn't.
Nah,
Because
I agree. I don't think
if two people are agreed that like this is our goal and what we're trying to achieve, the misalignment happens where someone asks someone, what do you bring to the table, whereby they've not established what goal and mission they're out
It's
for.
normally I notice that man them say that a lot.
Yeah.
As a rebuttal to when women say they're not doing certain things.
Yeah, and that's so.
And the man's response is, well, what do you bring to the table? It's like,
Not quite.
no. Because
Yeah.
if you were patterning yourself correctly, like you wouldn't even be worried about that.
Yeah.
But then I say that to say women use that dynamic to say that if I have to ask, then that means you're not patterning yourself properly. And it goes back again and be like, well, if you need me to be patterned fully to the point where I'm patterning you, then why do I need you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it goes back in a cycle again. It's just it literally is an example of a vicious circle.
Yeah. And this is why I go back to that point of like, people need to agree what goal and mission they're out to achieve. If in a relationship, I am in agreement that, look, this is what we do. We go out there as a couple and steal TVs, right? These times, when you've been living with me, after 5 months, there's no stack of TVs in the crib. No. Listen to me.
I'm trying to separate what you said from the point.
No, but all I'm saying is like
a couple of Bonnie and Clyde,
but
all in curries.
If that's the aim and mission we've set out to do, do you know what I mean? So you see it. If that's what we've agreed that this is what we are aiming to do together as a couple, this is the goal. This is where we're trying to head to, right? These times, after a few months, there's no efforts to go out there and clean. There's no efforts to go out there and TVs.
You're bringing the TV in single-handedly.
Then the partner's bringing in TVs and making efforts to go and burgle and bring TVs themselves.
These times.
But it was an agreed mission.
The other partner's just sitting watching.
Yeah,
watching the TVs.
100%. The other can say that, like, okay, in terms of value, in terms of what you're putting towards us going out there to TVs, like we said we're going to, you're not bringing nothing. Therefore, you are not a high-value man. Because you're not providing any value
does your
to our goal.
Know that you want to be out here committing grand larceny?
Possibly. Might have been a discussion we've had.
Pull up on that later on and be like, all right, tonight, car stereos.
Different things, different seasons.
Yes.
It's car radio season.
Okay, no, I do agree with you. And I think it's
agree, bro.
I think it's one of those, it's a weird scenario because to ask somebody what they bring to the table is almost like to question their worth and their value to you.
Yeah.
And if you've been in a relationship long enough, that's going to come out as a bit disrespectful. It's like, why are you with me if you don't know my value, then that means you don't value me, kind of thing. It kind of gives that impression.
Yeah.
But it goes back to something that we've spoken about before. People don't know how to date. These are conversations that you should be having from the jump, realistically. And it's only awkward because it's not common. That's the only reason why this is seen as like an awkward conversation, because it's not a thing that people talk about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if people were more likely to talk about it, then you wouldn't feel no type of way of being like, well, actually, not with a timeline included, but you know, at some point I want to own my own house. You know, maybe a big enough house to accommodate like 2 or 3 kids. You know, my mum's old.
With a color TV, so I can see the Knicks play basketball. Sorry, I had to do that.
Dropping random
hey, big up anyone who knows about them old school hip hop joints there.
Storytellers there. But yeah, so like,
don't push me.
So basically, like, so you got like one partner is basically telling you what they want, what they want out of life, or what you know, a goal of some kind. And then the other partner will be telling them what they want out of life. And that by and large does happen.
Yeah.
But what they don't kind of, after the initial establishing of what each other wants out of life, they've made those decisions independently of each other. Then you got to start, then what you should be doing is ascertaining whether or not that person can help you achieve that goal. Yeah. After you've ascertained that, like, you know, we have the same goal, we have a similar goal in mind. Yeah. Cool. That's the first stepping stone. Yeah. But then what often it gets skipped. This whole, all right, how are we going to do this? Yeah. You want a 3-4 bedroom house. How's your credit rating? Are you good with money?
These are I'll click fingers for these questions. Because these questions need to be asked.
You need to ask.
Flipping hell.
Like, I'll be honest, man. Like,
could I ask you a question?
Yeah, go for it.
It almost seems to me as if certain topics, like the very kind of British way of like, I know that there's certain questions you just don't ask because we're so used to day-to-day life in this environment where there's certain things, certain questions you don't ask. But when that seeps into dating, like, do you feel that like that's the time to drop those things that we're so used to and go for the jugular with questions because bro, it's hard to sit across the table for someone and ask, what's your credit history? What's your credit rating?
So I think with certain questions, if it's not relevant to you, then why would you care? Like if me and one of my friends wanted to go in on like a business venture, to say like you and me was like, oh, you just came to me and says, yo, Tom, there's this property. I think we could flip it, we could rent it out, and we can make a tidy profit off it. You're trying to ascertain whether or not I want to get involved in your idea.
Yeah,
I could be like, yo, that sounds like a dope idea. Naturally, the next question has got to be, okay, what is your position financially with, putting money towards it or putting money in? It could be a situation where, like, well, I'll be honest, my credit score's jacked, but, man's got the cash for the deposit. Yeah. Your credit score is booming. So what I don't have, what I have can fill the blank of what you don't have. You might not have the deposit money sitting ready to go to capitalize on this opportunity, but you've got the credit rating. I don't have the credit rating, but I've got the cash. So that's a partnership. And right there, you've established what the other brings to the table. These are not the questions that people are asking. And it doesn't need to be those particular questions, but I'm trying to... Bro, I'll go as far to be like, oh, so you want to have kids? Cool. Might not be a straight away conversation, but having kids, cool. Yeah. And then, like, you turn up to the yard and the grandma's on crack and the dad is missing and the whole family's here. I'm like, I don't want to breed with you.
Yeah.
Like, you might be dope, but the people that I'm bringing into my life vicariously through this child, I'm going to have to deal with these people. Yeah. I don't want to do that. Do you know what I mean? And these are the questions and these are the things that you have to find out. Like, one thing that I've always maintained, right? I inadvertently found this out with my first serious relationship, but then from that, I started making sure that I definitely find out. When I'm dating a girl or seeing a girl or even chatting to a girl, I try to ascertain I've said ascertain so much in this fucking past.
But it's for real.
But I tried to find out what her relationship is like with her father. So if he's absent, if she's got a bad relationship with her father, non-functioning, or a functioning one, and he's not necessarily with the mother, or they haven't grown up together, but he's an active, person in her life, a role model in her life, or if it's the classic, my dad's always been in my life, I'm a daddy's girl, he's always there for me, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I tried to ascertain what that relationship is have, not so that I can write you off or put you on a pedestal, so I know what I'm working with. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because if you've got some sort of... Because for me, I've noticed a trend. Yeah. And this is just what I've noticed. This is completely anecdotal. I don't want anyone at me saying, oh, Liam, you're misogynistic. That's not how it works. For me, what I've noticed is women who have working relationships with their father, whether they've had it all their life, whether they've had to go without them for a long time and they've made... they've patched it up and now they're... Or whether they just have an amicable one. I noticed that they tend to demand less from me as a man, quote unquote. Do you know what I mean? What I find is women that have trust issues where men are concerned stem back to their fathers. And maybe the dad treated the mum like shit, or the dad's been absent, or do you know what I mean? So that's just what I found, and I'm like, okay, cool. So if I'm going into a relationship with a girl and I'm just in the talking stages, it's normal to inquire what somebody's family is like, or what they do for a living, or where's your dad, and like how's he getting on? Like what does your dad do for a living? Do you know what I mean? These are normal questions for me, and I don't drop them in like an interrogatory way. I just like what does your dad do? What does your mom do? Do you know what I mean? So. For me, I've found that...
Could you pass me the potato salad? Is your father present in your life?
Does your dad pass the potato salad? Like, how
Can I get the salt? Yes. How active a role does he play in your upbringing?
But yeah, so however I've managed to do it, I've just asked. And I'm not afraid to tell my story about me and my dad. But like... It's an important thing for me to know that because it helps me understand certain, situations.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is completely anecdotal. This is something that I've figured out for myself. And whenever I have been like, okay, she doesn't have a functioning, relationship with her father or whatever.
Yeah.
Eventually, inevitably, the distrusting side comes out.
Okay.
For no reason. I haven't done anything, but apparently I've done X, Y, and Z, and this is, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there thinking, you don't even know how much therapy you need on this topic alone.
Yeah.
I'm not the one. With all due respect, I'm out.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just something that I found. Now, you need to have conversations that are difficult.
Yes.
This is somebody you are potentially going to spend the rest of your life with.
Yeah.
And you're treating it like you're buying a second-hand car that you know you're only going to run into the ground and then get rid of. And then, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is not that. These are not, this is your partner, not trainers.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of what you're saying about the, difficult questions to be asked, it's like you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about like a potential business partner.
Yeah.
Now, certain man out there will be gassed off the super unleaded fumes of the excitement of a new venture, but they'll never have that conversation and ask my man, look, what is your credit rating? What is your credit? Have you got CCJs? Have you got whatever?
Yep.
Some men are out there with big chest, excited about starting business, but they've got the credit rating of a dead dog. But they'll drag someone along to the point where they've now committed a large amount of funds financially, and then it's like, hold on, things from someone's personal life are now putting the whole situation in jeopardy, and now this person's capital that they've contributed is now up for grabs.
That's like when you get legally married,
Yeah.
right? So I've said this before. The only thing that changes in when you get married is your legal status and your credit rating. If you're marrying somebody who has a terrible credit rating, or who's
The credit rating
massively,
of a
not even
homeless walrus.
not even necessarily credit rating, but if they've got a massive amount of debt, that is now your debt.
Yep.
If they owe 50K,
If they default on it, they're coming for you.
they're coming for all of you. Now,
Yep.
let's say, for instance, you're a man. Let's say, for instance, you're in a situation where you own your house and you've met this girl and you've been like, okay, cool. Look, I like you. I love you or whatever. I want to marry you.
Yeah.
This is our house. It might not be our forever home. We can upgrade at some point. But, I'm happy. I married you now. Like, let's live together.
Yeah.
We can both live here. You pay me the rent or whatever the case may be. You contribute to the bills or whatever. Cool. You get a knock at the door.
Yeah.
Is this the home of Mr. and Mrs. Zindaga?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Who are you? Oh, we're here to collect such and such a debt. Wait, what? I'm not in debt. No, but Mrs. Formerly known as is in 50K of debt. We're going to take everything. They're going to repossess everything to make up the amount. Like bailiffs come to the yard.
Jeez.
Fuming! You're looking
down
at
to the
babes
window
like,
handles.
you're looking at wifey like, wait,
What is this?
why am I now being told that you have got 50K debt and now I am being punished for it? Now they're repossessing your yard because of something she did and failed to disclose this.
Exactly.
And I'm saying to myself, not that it's his fault or like it's the man's fault in this situation or the homeowner's fault in this situation, but you should have asked. You've left yourself wide open. Listen, romance and business are not the same. They don't cancel each other out. They don't pair up and combine powers. You have to keep them separate. You need to understand when and where
100.
which is applicable. And motherfuckers just get so love struck. They forget to ask these important questions. Then when bailiffs come knocking, all of us, love can't bail you out of this one.
Now, here's another part of this where I think these days, a life partner, whether it's through marriage or just, cohabiting with a life partner, but you decide that's the road that you want to travel with someone. This isn't just casual dating anymore. I now know enough about you that I am comfortable that this is the kind of person that I'd be happy with spending the rest of my life with. Do you know what I mean? When you get to that stage, again, beyond the kind of, because bro, like, I know for a fact, like certain people in that romance, certain people will just falsify things in terms of like, it's embarrassing. Someone might not be wanting to disclose that they're in 50 grand worth of debt to a significant other. They might be embarrassed about it. You have to. But some people will conceal that. So this is why I'm saying, like, there's ways and means of regardless, and I'm not saying be distrusting and all this kind of stuff, but okay, someone tells you X, Y, and Z, but you know how much you've got riding on it. So you know that, like, all right, cool, I can take them at face value, but at the same time, I want to do my own research.
I'm going to make my own Googles.
Yeah, do your own Googles. And this is the thing. No matter who the person is, like, some way, somehow, they are, whether it's people who directly are in contact with them and know them, but you can glean so much. That's the beauty of the internet these days, bro. Like, especially here in the UK, where through Companies House, voters' rolls, all of these combinations of information, like within an hour, you can have the full 100 and the full drop on somebody. If they've ever been evicted, if they've ever defaulted on like all of these things, bro. If they've ever had a car repossessed with this mobile phone and its processing power and the internet, you find out all that stuff. So in terms of like, I know like in the early romance stages, there's that kind of feeling of like, oh, this is all the enjoyments and all the fun. But once you know that, like, all right, cool, now it's time to take the next step. I am fully an advocate, and I encourage people, like, although you might think that it's like, oh, but yeah, no one starts out with the intention of things going pear-shaped.
No, of course
but
not.
in order to equip yourself with the information that is adequate for you to make that shout and be like, yes, this is bona fide, this is the person, full disclosure, they've given me, and all of that's checked out. Man, I have to do them searches. I have to do them CRBs, background searches. Same way you'd want to know about someone's, to see if someone's information that they've told you regarding dating history. You would just... If you know people from their circle, you just corroborate a couple things and be like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? 'Cause you don't want to be the guy who's...
CRB.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy who's out here with a whopper.
See,
unknowingly.
And this is my thing, right? I'm not really, like, if you've done something in your past, whether it's like a criminal conviction or, you might have slept with a couple of mandem, or you've had debt or whatever, like anything that would, like, quote unquote, tarnish your name or tarnish your credit or tarnish your, lifestyle or whatever at the time. If you've made amends from that, or I've seen that, there was a mistake and you did something in the past and, you've learned from it or whatever, then we can move forward. But now I know.
Exactly.
I know that you've been through
Full
that.
disclosure.
And you're less likely to make that mistake again because it's been so many years since you've done it again and you've learned and you've moved on and you've evolved as a person. But you see, when I find out on my own, and I know that you've kept it from me. Like, for instance, I've been arrested twice. Been to court once, never been charged. Bus case. No, I'm just kidding. Bus case. There was nothing to bus, basically. But if I'm dating somebody, like, I make sure that I've told them that. Because even though the chances of them ever finding out is next to none, they would have to do some serious searching to find out what it was, when it was, why it was, or even ask my friends around. Like, that conversation, that topic doesn't come up in my friend circle. Like, it's not even something that we talk about. So, like, even though I know that it's unlikely you're gonna ever find out, I feel like it's necessary to tell somebody that. Do you know what I mean? Worst case scenario, they're like, oh, so what happened? And you tell them, and you're just like, and they're like, oh, I mean, you're just unlucky, I guess.
Okay, bam!
What's going on, people? You're now listening to the Rzning and Szning podcast with myself, Ellington,
and me, King Sims.
Make sure you check out new episodes every Friday on Spotify
and weekly on YouTube.
You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Rzning and Szning podcast.